Hey there, all you gurus. Welcome back. I am totally stoked for tonight's episode of Innate to Innate. It's an old buddy of mine who I've been in contact kind of back and forth over the last, oh my goodness, 10 years, but we used to be best buddies way back in chiropractic college. Somebody I have learned a great deal amount from, and I'm totally excited to have him on the show. I think he's going to have a real practical look at what it takes to be extraordinary in our lives. And he's certainly somebody who's walking the talk right now. So without any further ado, welcome to the show, Dr. Jamie Richards.
Norm, great to see you, man. It's been, I know we stay in touch from time to time, but it's always good when we get the opportunity to reconnect and do something like this. And, you know, it's funny, we'll get into the topics for tonight, but I think back to all the old days, going through the mastermind group, and I think I even see a couple on here, Scotty Batcher, and a shout out to Lawrence as well. And, you know, some of the people that we sat down with, I don't know how long ago was it, 15 years ago now? 14 years ago? Yeah, so
yeah, 15,
12,
16 years
12 to 15 years ago. Yeah, that's right. I mean,
yeah, it was like 2000, 2001 that we started Circle of Innate, and it was a key group of students back in CMTC, and we came together on a weekly basis, and we really chatted down the bigness of chiropractic and what it was to be a chiropractor. And we looked at a lot of great topics through that time, and philosophy was something that Jamie got really, really big on. And why don't we just start with that, Jamie, from like a rational, I know looking at this, sometimes philosophy we can kind of get more airy-fairy. Start from a rational perspective, and let's look at philosophy and why that's important to one's life.
Well, I mean, it's a big question, but of course, that's why we're here on today's show and talking about this. And philosophy is obviously at the core of your life. It's something that you have. Everyone has a philosophy. And of course, it's just a matter of if you've taken the time to think about it, and you've taken the time to develop a conscious philosophy. And, you know, I always go back to the Ayn Rand quote about philosophy and what is philosophy, and you know, is it going to be a junk heap of rationalizations and slogans, or is it going to be something conscious that you've taken time to develop? And, you know, I can say that that's what happened, you know, 10 to 15 years ago, whatever it was, Norm, is we started having these conversations. And I remember the first, I guess, piece of this that really got me thinking was just simple. And that's, am I aligned, right? Is what I'm trying to do in my life aligned with what I actually think and believe? And that was the first time I really recognized that there were big parts of my life that were in just massive contradiction. And that set me off on an entirely new path in my life. I didn't realize, you know, up to that point, there were so many contradictions, sadly enough. But, you know, obviously the good news is that's where a lot of the juice is too. So that's where a lot of the growth came from. But, you know, in short, you have a philosophy. And if I could say one thing to anybody, you know, philosophy doesn't mean that you're sitting around with, you know, patches on your sleeves and berets and smoking cigars. It means that, you know, you're having deep thoughts about really important questions. What does my life mean? You know, why am I here? What do I want to accomplish? And then coming up with a system of thought to get as close as possible and to approximate what you see as the truth and reality. And if you can match up your action steps with reality, I mean, that's when big things really start to happen.
Awesome. We're jumping right into it. That's great. And we might take a step back a little bit. That's okay. I threw you right into it. Big questions right off the start. And that is, you know, I know you well, and I've had the opportunity of kind of watching you through your process and your professional development, right, from student to now chiropractor and mentor for many other chiropractors around the world. It's been pretty extraordinary, your growth, but not everybody has had the opportunity of witnessing that. So could you start off and just share a little bit about your backstory and how you got into chiropractic?
Cool. So chiropractic, you know, it was something that the first time I heard it, there was something logical about it. Now, thankfully, I heard about it in a way that actually was, you know, a rational approach. So, you know, the first person that ever told me about chiropractic, at least the way I see it, is Dr. Brad Wilson. So I'm pretty sure Brad's still floating around out there somewhere. He might be in Australia, if the last I remember anyway. And Brad and I went to university together, and one summer with sport fitness school, and he said, hey, this is what chiropractic is. And I thought, wow, I always thought chiropractic was something that you did for backs and necks. And really, you know, the chiropractor in my town, I had only been to look at my ankle. And I've said this story many times before, but we used to drive by the chiropractor and I couldn't even pronounce it. I used to think it was called the chipperator. Mom, what's a chipperator? And of course, I never got corrected. It was just, it's they look at your ankle or an injury. So that was my only really exposure. And for whatever reason, I decided to apply to chiropractic school. And really, I didn't know a whole lot about it, but I got in 1 year early, so I had 3 years of my degree finished. And I was playing college football or varsity football, I guess, wherever, United States, Canada, worldwide, however you label that. But I thought, you know what, I'm done. I was kind of done with the athletic part of it, and I thought, I'm going to go do this. And so I went and did it, totally disillusioned the first 6 months. And I remember we were in the same class, and lots of great stories that we can't get into here on today's episode. But nonetheless, lots of pivotal experiences there. And, at the middle of the year, I remember I developed pneumonia. I got really sick. And right about that time, I heard Reggie Gold speak. And so what I took away from Reggie Gold was, I said to Brad, he was in the seminar with me, and said, so is he saying that if you have cancer, you just need to be subluxation free? And Brad was like, no, he's saying if you have cancer, you don't want to be subluxated too. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes total sense. So speed up the process, a few mentors along the way, a few life major changes and experiences along the way. And here we are, 2017 on practice number 3, CEO of Life by Design. We have 25 locations around the world. We've got a great headquarters here in Blenheim, Ontario. And, best of all, now I have an amazing wife and 2 little girls. So, 27 months and 10 weeks old. So that's what I was doing before the show. It was bedtime. So we were bath time and toweling off and trying to get snacks and get them all settled with Moana so we could focus on today's inner guru.
Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, it's been quite a journey, young man. You've accomplished a lot.
Oh, well, it's kind.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, I want to open this up to everybody who's tuning in here tonight. And there's a lot. I'm seeing a lot of people starting to pop online. That's awesome. We would appreciate your comments. If you want to just start off by putting in your name and where you're from, that'd be great. This is going out around the world, and Jamie does have a global, as I do as well, global vision, and so we want to hear from you. Just throw in your name and where you're tuning in from. That'd be great. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and start popping those online too. Jamie's going to honor those as time goes on. So we're going to tie the 2 pieces. You've had this, quite a growth process in the first 15 years of your career. And along that, we were talking about the importance of congruence and the importance of alignment, and how in your own journey, you were bumping up against some things that you saw as being out of congruent, out of alignment. And I think that's a really good starting point. And we want to go a little bit deeper into this, is like getting clear on our why. Getting clear on what is aligned, and, what's the process there? How were you able to break through and really shed light on some of those areas and make the changes that were necessary?
I mean, it's probably different now, Norm, than it was back then. I try and reverse engineer this and think about what I went through. I would probably say not to use the same processes I used way back when, because it did take a lot longer. I feel like, my ability now and my skills and capabilities to be able to be aware of what I'm doing or how I'm being is a lot better than it was 15 years ago. So one of the things that I usually advise people is take a look at the areas of your life where you're having the biggest challenges, right? I mean, that's the simplest place to start. I mean, you can look at anywhere from finances to career, relationships, work, whatever it is, wherever the biggest challenge is, there's probably a pretty good chance there's a massive incongruency there, right? I mean, if we go based off that idea that the bigger the incongruency, the bigger the effects, then, if you're really struggling somewhere, there's probably a chance something is not matched up. And so once you identify that area, just ask yourself the question, what is it I believe about this? So, I mean, we're talking to lots of lay people, lots of your practice members, my practice members, people who follow Life by Design all around the world, and health is an easy one. And it's really a simple principle they can understand. Let's say someone is struggling with a health challenge. It's an area that they're really not doing well in. If they start asking themselves, what is it that I believe about health? And if they start coming up with answers, well, I'm predetermined to get sick. Drugs are the best way to get healthy. Right? If those are your beliefs, well, what we know absolutely is that those are not true. We know that the body can change, the body can heal, there's massive potential, that while drugs have a time and place, they don't help us get healthy or improve function. So we know that the truth is A, but they're believing B, while it's obvious why they're experiencing the current health level. So again, all they have to do is say, all right, if I can put on a different hat and start to look at this differently, which then once you start to look at it differently, you're going to start to act differently. And because your actions are going to be lined up with the actual reality that exists, the results are going to start to unfold. So the cool thing is help people understand weight loss, overcoming a health challenge. But, my question is, wouldn't it be cool if you take that same principle and apply it everywhere? So there's some of these areas that are big for people, like financial upset, relationships is a big one. It's the same thing. There's probably something you're believing about a relationship that is incongruent. Oh, relationships are easy, right? Well, I don't know about your relationships, but they take work and they take effort, and that's not a bad thing. That's just the truth. Having children is so simple. Children are, again, having children now, it's a whole different experience. You recognize going into it that, there's going to be some challenges, but I don't think any parent realizes just how significant some of the challenges are going to be. So, you have to have all your ducks in a row and start to recognize that essentially figuring out what reality is, getting lined up with that, that's how you're going to figure this out. And that's how you're going to get creating, what it is you're trying to create.
Excellent. So a real pragmatic approach here. If something's not working, look at it, figure out what your beliefs are that's getting in the way, and then find out a more empowering belief, and then strategies from there.
That's it.
Line them up. Excellent. That's great. And we got a couple of questions on the field right now.
Okay.
So why don't we do that? And I'm just going to pop this up. Mr. Nima decided to join us this evening.
Hey, Nima.
And so Nima asked, Jamie, what's been your biggest challenge with your expansion?
That's a great question. I guess we'll talk about both personal expansion, and then maybe Nima is talking about the infrastructure and the business expansion. They do go hand in hand, obviously. One of our mentors from many years ago, Arnaud Bernier, was reminding us that who you are as a person precedes who you are as a business owner, a chiropractor, a father, a husband, all those different types of things. And so, that always stuck with me. And, what is the biggest challenge? The biggest challenge for me personally, being a, strong, dreamer type, is twofold. One, letting go of some of the control. So learning how to create a great team. And, interestingly, that also goes with personal life. So one of the things that, we've been challenged by is figuring out, how do we do this? How do we have 25 offices? How do we have our own office with 2 associates and a training facility, opening a restaurant, having the fish oil company, having 2 kids, and, how do you do all that? And so we've had to realize that, we need to invest in infrastructure. So getting people to help you, right? Hiring people to do certain things and investing in that. I don't think people have ever really thought this through and just crunched the numbers. And I was saying this the other day to somebody, I was talking about maybe on a podcast, and that's, if I could hire somebody to, let's say, clean my house or, prep a meal for $12 an hour, and I can go to work and earn, many times that by providing value for people, then one, it's giving that person a job. 2, it's freeing me up to do more of what I love to do. But as a control freak, that's so hard to do, right? I'm like, I could cook the food, or, Dana, I could do the laundry. And Dana does all of that stuff and more. So just saying, you have to figure out how to scale your infrastructure. And the second part is, you have to be able to have a team. Those are the big ones. I've been talking a lot about infrastructure in your life lately. And if you want to go big, you have to increase your infrastructure in advance of scaling or expanding either your personal life, your personal self, or expanding or scaling your business.
Awesome. Lots of great gems there for sure. And maybe throw any more comments if you got them. And I'm going to steer this just a little bit back more to our lay people and to a more looking at health. And I had something I wanted to pick your brain about. I had a client in earlier today, and she made it her goal around health. She's like, my focus is health. And, we've been working with her for 3-4 months, and she's made some progress. But what's clear to me is it's just not really a priority for her.
Right.
And as much as she's saying she wants to make progress there, it's something she's going through the motions, but she's not making the changes that she wants. So what do you do when there's things in our life that, we want, like health is something that we all want, but yet it's not something that we might value. It might be not something like, you know what, I want to go to the gym, or I don't enjoy it, or how do you work with those clients? And I'm sure there's areas in your own life too that you bump up against that.
Right. I actually just see one of my clients pop on there, Judy. Hey, Judy. And, it's funny because you're right. People have this idea that they want to have something. So again, we'll use health as an example. But when it actually comes down to doing the work, we'll get into this whole idea of dreamers and doers and some of the character traits that will help people actually accomplish some stuff. But, this is where the rubber hits the road, as they say. And, you can have these big dreams. I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to overcome my health challenge. But again, you hit the nail on the head there. And I'm just like, do you really want to? Or is that something that you think that you should want to? Right? I think if you ask anybody, is health important? You're rarely going to find, I know for you and me, it's rare to find a client who's going to say, no, I don't want to be healthy. But if I say, great, so here's what it's going to take. Are you willing to do what it's going to take to be healthy? At least the level of health you're telling me you want. It's almost like, whoa, that's a lot of work. Yes, that is a lot of work. I don't love to wake up at 5:15 in the morning. I don't love training at the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's not enjoyable, but I do it because what I value, which is what you were commenting on, is health. And even more so, to go back to how that value then ties into the bigger picture, part of my why is creating a facility and an organization that really transforms people's lives. And so in order to do that, I have to be able to show up, number one, myself, and I have to be able to be the gold standard. So, I'm almost 42. If I can't be the gold standard for health, then how am I going to expect my clients to take these action steps? So, one of the inspiring things that's happened lately at the Fit Club, which is our training facility, is we started a master's program. And what made me think of it is Judy popped on the line here, and Judy's one of our members in our Extraordinary Life Chiropractic. She's under regular corrective care, but we started the master's program. So we have all these 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85-year-old people training in a strength and conditioning center, doing their own style of programming. And I just think, again, if what you really want, so if your value is, I want to be healthy, and it's truly a value and it's tied to something bigger, there's a why in there, then you'll do it. If it's not, you're just going to stop doing it. And, maybe just be honest with yourself and say, you know what, I want to be healthy, but I don't want to be optimally healthy, because that's a different story. Great. Well, then, we'll see you once in a while. You'll kind of eat good food. You might walk a little bit. You will be healthier. But as long as you recognize you'll never reach extraordinary health and you're okay with that, then I'm okay with that too.
Right. So I guess it's getting really clear on the why and why people want this, and just to ask deeper questions and to really line up with that.
Yeah. Well, and as a practitioner, I'm sure you do this with people all the time. And it's just, again, my nature is just to be blunt with people, right? It's, I'll see paperwork on we'll finish saying a course of care, and I'll have them actually set their short-term goals. And they might put a short-term goal that's lose 5 pounds. When I come into the room, hey, Norm, this is great. I'm really excited about your goals for this next stage of care. Lose 5 pounds. That's great. So what's your plan? And they look at me, it's like deer in headlights. Goals are great. Goals are wonderful. But if you don't have a plan, and if that plan, again, isn't tied to something bigger, the why, then it's not going to happen, right? And so, usually when they say, I don't have a plan, then of course I step in and let them know, well, I have a plan for you if this is what you want. Let's figure out the action steps and let's put that into play. Because there's nothing more frustrating, just saying this literally to Dana earlier, there's nothing more frustrating than seeing people live half their life. I don't know about you, and I do know about you. I know it drives you just as crazy as it does me. It's one of the challenges in practice, right? Is you really want the most for people, and you have this big dream for them, but sometimes their dream and your dream just don't match up.
That's it. Yeah, I say and I see it as a gift actually, is that I constantly see people bigger than they see themselves. And so I think there's some value in that, in seeing the potential of what could be for their health, and to try and call them forward in that. Most people have been living pretty resigned to what is and what they've been told. One of my favorite Jamie Richards quotes is, "You've got to live it to lead it."
That's it.
And I think that's something you've been running your businesses, your different offices on. And so I'd like to hear just a little bit more about, your own lifestyle. What are you up to? And, just let us a bit into Jamie Richards' lifestyle.
Well, I mean, I think the big key, again, it goes back to taking the time to strategically plan for your life. So for all of our practice members and lay people listening, you have to run your life like you're the CEO of your life. And if you were to actually look in my Dropbox, and you would see one of the files that says Richards Family Inc. And, I have Excel files that track things like budgeting and goal setting. We have a tool that we've created at Life by Design for our offices to use called the Perfect Life Planner. We actually have our practice members, after they attend one of our workshops called Think by Design, they'll plan out their life, and they'll plan all the different branches, and they'll figure out what they want, why they want it, how they're going to get it. So, there's a lot of steps to this. So the point is, what you're hearing when I say, here's what I do, understand there's a whole backstory to that got to that point. So, you probably can't see it, but if I actually turn the computer just a little bit, you might actually see the whiteboard there. So here I'm upstairs in my office. So there's an 8-foot whiteboard over there. And that's where most of my life is mapped out on. Now I have the files in my computer and keep those in the cloud. So, if something happens and my house burns down, I still have all these dreams and goals and plans and available to me. But from a day-to-day, I say on average, depending on the day, I'm up about 5:15, and, I'm not good at going to bed early. So, sleep is probably something that I could improve. So I'm up at 5:15, multiple days I'm at the gym training at 6. So I do a strength and conditioning program. So our facility's definitely strength and conditioning. So lots of heavy lifting, lots of intense conditioning, take time to do some mobility and recovery work after. I generally fast. So I wouldn't say I follow any type of protocol in terms of intermittent fasting, but I would definitely say my fasting cycles are relatively long. I'll eat at 9 o'clock at night the last time, or 9:30. I won't eat again until about sometimes 1 or 1:30, and then I'll eat 2 big or 3 meals throughout the course of that time. Eat by Design. So for those who don't know that's very much related to paleo. There's a bunch of different things about it without getting into it here, but basically lots of good healthy animal products. Tail to tip. All that kind of good stuff. Lots of veggies. Take my fish oil. We own Bonfire Fish Oil, so of course endorse Bonfire Fish Oil. So we take that. My vitamin D, probiotics, and I do take a testosterone booster as I'm getting older. So I do get blood work done every year and look at that. And I'm mid-range for testosterone, so I take a testosterone booster with some herbs and so on. Take magnesium. That's kind of the basic diet as we go. I get my spine and nervous system checked twice a week. Go to the dentist 4 times a year. I map all of this out. So that's that. On weekends, it's family time. So I spend Saturdays, Sundays, and that's actually been whether we want to go there or not, that's been a life changer for me in many ways. You know me well enough. I was a crazy workaholic, and I would say before I met Dana, and even for the first couple of years of our relationship, just work, and starting to partition my life into prep days, practice days, and personal days has transformed my life. And now that we have kids, it's great, and that's the only way we could do it. So Saturdays, Sundays are family time. So if you message me on a Saturday, Sunday, and I don't get back to you, that's why. My phone literally goes in the bathroom, goes on the shelf. The only thing that can call through is the alarm for the building. Otherwise, there's really no interaction with me, and try and stay focused on the family. We probably should take more vacations, but other than that, life is good. It's a journey. There's a lot of work involved. It's not easy. And when you're playing at a really high level, you're going to crash sometimes and you're going to fail. But I'll leave at this. The thing I think that makes the most successful people successful is not that they never fail or crash or make mistakes, is that they catch themselves faster than everybody else. And they get back on track faster. So instead of saying, "Oh, I fell off track, I'm going to start a new diet, next year," it's I fell off track, I'm back on tomorrow. That's the difference.
Yeah, for sure. On the road to success, there's going to be lots of ups and downs, and we learn to celebrate those challenges and dust our knees off and get back in the game and go forward from there.
That's it. Absolutely. Perseverance. That's the character trait. I think about my kids especially, and if anybody listens to the podcast, either Life by Design or if you're a doc, Life by Design for chiropractors, that's the one thing I've mentioned a lot lately is, since I've turned almost 42, we've had 2 young kids. Man, I tell you, Norm, I don't know if you feel this, but mortality just is right there. And it's like, okay, 42, if I double that, I'm 84. It's not a bad life. Man, this could be over anytime. And so I feel that drive every day now more than I ever did before to create the life I want. We've been working towards that, but I practice a day and a half a week now. I have 2 associates, Life by Design. We got a home office. We built a great house on the lake, opened the center. It's time to just do whatever else I need to do and kind of get going and feel that. And perseverance, adaptability, relentlessness. These are the things that I think about every single day.
We were talking a bit before we jumped online here, and you were talking about the difference between doers and dreamers, and how, you and I both have that in common, that we tend towards being more big vision, big thinkers. And you've really had the success of marrying that the last number of years with the more tangible doing nature of life. Could you talk to our people a little bit about the difference between doers and dreamers and how they work together?
Sure. I mean, we've had many, many hours staying up late at night dreaming about what the future is going to look like. So again, kind of going back full circle, it's why I love the opportunity to get on the horn and have these conversations with you. And, I know we're talking about me tonight, but it is great to see what you're doing. And, it's such a great platform that you've come up with. And I think it's wonderful. And even just learning about it over the last couple of weeks, I've realized, man, there's things I'm learning from you in this sense. So I'm excited to take some of this stuff and leverage that into some of the Life by Design things that we're doing. So basically, most people are one or the other. You're a dreamer or a doer. And if you look at the Kolbe score, which is a nice psychometric testing protocol, I'm a quick start. I like to start projects. I have big dreams, but I don't finish them, or at least I didn't finish them. And I would say, in working with or bringing together Dr. Mike Gibson, who is, one of my best friends, he's one of our other directors at Life by Design. What Mike brings to the table is he's a doer. And I mean, he's got a dreamer's mindset, but nowhere near what mine is. And what I learned from him is, he gets stuff done. And his level of productivity was, awe-inspiring, literally mind-blowing to just see how much work somebody could actually accomplish, and productive work. And so I've learned from him. He's created a whole course around it, and I've taken that and leveraged it myself, and it's amazing. And so now that's my mantra, right? Is get, the S word done, just get it done. And making sure that the marriage of those things, making sure that you're actually getting stuff done that matches up with the dream. That's the paradox here, right? Is you could be busy. You were talking about, growing up on a farm. Busy work is busy work. And, is it productive though? Is picking up nails productive? Or is it just, I worked all day today, worked really hard today? There's 2 different things, right? So I don't want to work 100 hours a week. I want to be productive and hyper productive. So when I'm working, it's all about focus. Can you focus on one task? We always get people to start with one task. We call it the PP60, which is your peak performance 60. For the first 60 minutes of every work period, take the number one task that's going to make you the biggest impact. It's going to make you the most money. Take that one task and just work on that for 60 minutes. Once that's done, then you can move to other tasks and do emails and Facebook and all that stuff. But commit yourself to that first single task every single day, or every single time it's a work period, 60 minutes, no emails, no phones. I saw this with our office website. It took months and months and months. And a year passed and we didn't have our office website done. And I was like, this is crazy. So every day for 60 minutes, I worked on the copy. I worked on the website. 3 months later, the website's done and it's generating new patients and educating our community. So, you have to be able to put those 2 together, the dreamer and the doer. And if you can do that, wow, that's when big things happen.
I think we get comfortable in one or the other, eh? And I see that even in phases of my life. I'll go through phases of my life where I'm really into the dream and kind of looking big picture, and then other phases of my life where it's like do, and
right.
and the importance of marrying that into our daily rituals, our daily rhythms of our day, our day-to-day.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Norm. I don't want to go over this too quick because there's a gem there. And you said your daily rituals and habits. And that's really what it is. You take all of this planning for your life And then to simplify the process, what you do is you create a series of habits, right? That's it. You just create a series of habits. And if you know, and you turn it into a game. There's a great app called Habit List. You can get for your phone, right? You turn it into a game. And so you map out, here's the 7 habits that if I do every day, I'm going to accomplish what I need to. And if you were to open my bathroom door or the cabinet, I have a list that actually says daddy to-do list. And here's what I need to do to be a great dad every single day. And it's just a checklist, right? And it's not that I need a list to remind myself to hug my kids, but I want to know that every day I'm conscious that if I just do the habits, those habits are tied to something bigger.
Great stuff, Jamie. Really practical. Awesome. Do you feel that there's any other bits you want to touch on before we?
No, well, I see there's some questions there, so maybe we can. I see them popping up across the screen. So,
Karen Warwick asks, "Is that method from a particular book?" I'm not sure what method.
I think she's talking about the PP60. I would assume.
Oh yeah,
60. It's not from any particular book. Just taking that principle of being super hyper focused. And, you'll see a lot of different names, Peak Performance 60, or, in our office, the Lifetime Care Map and Agreement Engine. The point is, from a business perspective, and I know this is not necessarily a business podcast, but from a business perspective, we're really big on creating a proprietary process. So everything that we do has its own special, unique name, its own twist, its own life by design, spin. So that way it keeps it, tied to the brand of Life by Design. It makes it ours.
Thanks for your transparency. That's great.
Hey, no problem.
Heather Lynn asks, so she's making reference to caring more about our clients than they might care about their health. Any suggestions on how to surrender that?
Yeah, we've always been told, right? You can't care more about them than they do about themselves. And it's kind of like you said, it can be great. It can also be a curse. I think if I had to err on one side versus the other, I'm just going to care more. It's just my own nature. I want the best for them. And the way I look at it is, as long as they're under my active care and I'm working with them, I'm going to keep caring about them in that sense. And I'm going to keep pushing them and leading them. If for some reason our office isn't the right place for them, or our training facility, or Life by Design, I still obviously I care enough about them, but they're gone, right? They're kind of off on their own, and if they want us to help them in some way, we're there for them. But that's kind of my cutoff point. That's where I let go. Is if you leave, I'm not going to continue to lay awake at night wondering how I can help you. I'm going to move on to that next person that's in front of me, and there's more than enough people who are knocking down the door to find out what we can do and how we can help them.
Mm-hmm. I remember, being a patient of chiropractors, and I've had both experiences. I've had the clients that, cared a lot, and then those who kind of had a half step,
Right.
And I felt that those who were just a little bit separate gave me a great adjustment, gave me room to kind of step forward into my own process and look for, what's my next step? How can I better take care of myself too?
Yeah, well, I think, to answer that question maybe even more clearly, when I say care about them, that doesn't mean that I'm doing the work for them or I'm begging them to do it. It's more about what you're saying, and that's being very direct with people. I think honesty and authenticity, I've said for years now, authenticity is the new black. It's like, just be real with people in an honest way. And, sometimes my reviews, once people are past, say, the first couple stages of care, my review literally sounds like this: Norm, there's not a lot I can tell you at this point. If you don't know why you're here, then you're probably never going to understand. Right? And people go, yeah, no, I totally know why I'm here. It's like, great. Well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to come forever. Great. Well, what's that look like for you? Right. Your tests say that this is what would be optimal. Are you looking for optimization? Yeah. Well, then this is what you should do. Would you like to do that? Yes, I would. Great. So then let's just keep doing that. Like, it literally is that. The first couple of meetings may be a little bit more in depth, but that's what it comes down to, because I just thanks, Donna. She had a nice. That's why we love you too, Donna. And that's we have great practice members. And that's one of the nice things about practicing in our hometown is, I get an opportunity to take care of people that took care of me growing up. Donna, for example, her husband was my dentist since the time I was, 6 years old. And now, Donna and her husband and her children and her grandchild all come into the practice for checkups. They train at the Fit Club. So really is an awesome Life by Design community that we have there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what you are growing. I think your vision is 1 million families worldwide.
Yeah, 1 million families worldwide. I mean, you have to set something big enough that it's daunting and scary, and that you probably don't even know how you're going to do it, right? I mean, part of the job of your brain is to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And that's part of the strategic planning for us, is set your vision big enough that every time you go back, and we encourage people every year to do strategic planning for their life. And then every 90 days, they do a mini strategy session. Same thing we do with our businesses. It's the same thing we teach them at Think by Design. And for those people who take the time to do that, it's an absolute game changer, because you're dreaming out in the future. And then you ask yourself, what do I need to do over the next 90 days to move 1% closer to that 25-year vision? It's interesting. If you think about it in quarters, every 90-day cycle is 1% of a 25-year vision. So all you have to do is ask, what do I need to do over 90 days to get 1% closer to my vision in 25 years? And so if you can do that and have 2 or 3 objectives for those 90 days, accomplish those. If you did that every year, Norm, you'd take on 12 major objectives a year and accomplish them. Imagine that. Most people have like thousands of goals and they accomplish 0. And then 10 years later, they're still thinking about the same things. That's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying, the biggest, I guess, pitfall or the saddest thing I see is that half-lived life, that dream that's still in your mind that you're not either accomplishing or moving towards. And then just the relegation of saying, forget it. I'm 40 years old now. I've got kids. I'm going to watch TV tonight and go to work tomorrow, and I'll hit the course on the weekend and I'll do it all again over and over again. I mean, that's great if you love your life and that's what you want. So this is not a judgment in that sense. But I think for most people, it's not what they want. I think it's what they've just basically, as you said, they got comfortable with.
Yeah, for sure. I had a great piece around setting goals, and you were saying about how they really want to be out there to stretch yourself.
Right.
And it's the tension between where you are and where that goal is that creates the focus. And if that distance is too far and the tension is too great, then it's going to create overwhelm. But when we break it down...
And a great tip that I got we did some coaching with Dan Sullivan, not the chiropractor Dan Sullivan, but Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. They coach more entrepreneurs than anybody in the world. And, he talks about this concept of the gap. And this concept really affected me in a positive way, because being a dreamer, and this, probably you'll feel the same thing. What I ended up doing was I'd have this massive vision and I would just think about how I'm not accomplishing it. It's like, oh my God, it was like and I would start to get into this mode where almost every visit, every interaction with a patient was supposed to be some miracle, right? It was supposed to be just white light was supposed to be flooding through the whole office, and they were supposed to get up, and the world was going to change, and that never happened. So I was actually beating myself up over it. And the way he explains it is, if you look out at the horizon, Norm, if you walk to the horizon, what's the horizon do?
It expands.
It keeps going. And so your vision is always going to be that way. So if every day all you do is think about where you're not, you're always going to be in this state of despair, and you're going to be in this state of frustration. So, his advice and what we've built into the model for strategic planning is every year take time to look at the vision, reset it, dream about it, acknowledge the wins, the challenges, where you are, and then for the rest of the year, don't worry about it. Focus on the 90-day objectives. And so all I do every day is I focus on the task at hand. I don't focus on the 1 million families worldwide. I focus on the fact that I need to record, 10 module videos for Life by Design in the next 2 weeks. And if I can get those done, then I'm going to accomplish what I set out to accomplish. And if I can do then the next project and the next project and the next project, a year from now, we're going to have, X number of families, and that will keep going and going. But if all I do is think about, man, we're just not there yet, you're just going to be frustrated and you're never going to actually get anything done.
Awesome. I like breaking it down. That's fascinating. The 90 days, if you break that down over 25 years, 1% every quarter. That's all it is. Good stuff. All right. So if people leaving on this note, how can people get in touch with you if they want to go further?
Well, it depends what they're looking for. If they're looking for, just learning about the blueprint for Life by Design, just go to lifebydesign.com. There's actually 4 manuals there that you can download. They're free: Eat by Design, Move by Design, Think by Design, Empower by Design. And follow the blueprint. Listen to the podcast. We record a podcast. It's on there every week. Go back. There's 337 episodes or something crazy like that. So if you're looking for a new podcast to listen to, there's more than enough content there. If you happen to be a doctor and you're listening in, then I would go to Life by Design for chiropractors. And so that whole model is all about coaching and consulting, creating strategies and tools for docs. So we do consulting, coaching. We have our Life by Design offices, and follow us on Facebook. That's probably the other easiest way. Watch the videos. We're kind of like you. We're everywhere. When you look at social media, you're not going to have a hard time finding us. And if we can provide you guys some value or you have questions, send them over. As you can see, we like to chat about this stuff.
Awesome. Jamie is definitely a man of service. Every time I've touched base with you over the last 5-10 years, you typically start off with just, how are you? What, where are you at? Can I help? And I really appreciate that of you. And thanks for jumping on board tonight. This has been a real gift for our community. I gained a couple of gems. I'm going to go back and re-listen to this and implement. And so I appreciate that. Any final notes as we finish off?
Just Norm, as you implement those gems, if you need any help, let me know. Happy to chat a little bit more. But again, honestly, just really love what you're doing here. I've watched a couple of the episodes already, and I can see that you're building your own community. I think it's really great for people who are in Nanaimo and all over the world getting exposure. So whether it's chiropractors, lay people, your practice members, my practice members, this was going live on the Life by Design Center page, going live on the Life by Design page. So yeah, lots of really cool stuff, and you're doing a great job. So just keep it up, Norm.
Awesome, buddy. Okay, until next time. The innate in me blesses the innate in you. Everybody else, attune to your wisdom within. Be well.